If you treat every craving you get with the phrase, I have no willpower, I should do better, you will keep losing fight with them. Cravings have different causes and each of them needs different fix. Today, I want to discuss the different type of cravings we get and what are the things you can do to first notice them and then change them. I always thought that cravings meant that my body needs this food, and I always treated all type of cravings the same. Usually it was with more restriction, more willpower. I had to realize that some of the cravings were not hunger at all. They were related to different needs, which we will be discussing later in this video. And the more I dialed down on dealing with the cravings with push method, the bigger the cravings would become and it was more difficult to deal with it, and then obviously I was giving in and I couldn't fix them because I couldn't correctly name it. You already must know my favorite phrase, which is, you cannot fix what you don't know. Let's start with separating the cravings. What are they and what type of cravings they exist? First is physical. Physical cravings is when you need food because it fulfills some type of functional need. If I'm extremely tired throughout the day, I had a very heavy day, I am tired, I want to rest, me wanting sugar may be physical craving because my body needs energy right now. And sugar gives me the energy right now. If I will have sugar, I will start getting the energy, I will feel better, and the craving came from my physical need of energy. Physical cravings can also be related to needing specific nutrient in your body. You know how people who have iron deficiency often require apples. They often crave apples. Some people crave citruses when they need more vitamin C. Those type of cravings, which are physical, always have purpose of making you feel physically better. Your body needs it to fulfill its function and help you go with your day. Next thing is sensory cravings. What they are is when you are searching for the sensory pleasure. You want food not because of how they taste, but because how they make you feel, like crunchy things like chips or marshmallow, which is very fluffy, right? You are craving that food because it's crunchy and you can replace it with any other food that will give you the same exact feeling. What sensory cravings do, it's activating your dopamine system and it makes you feel happy. It makes you feel joyful. That's why sensory cravings are not related to items specifically, but to the texture, structure, how it feels when you eat something. The next one is emotional cravings. Those are, I think, easiest to notice because you are eating your emotions up. You are craving something because you want to deal with the emotion with the food, and emotional cravings can be two different ways. One type of emotional craving is if you want to get rid of the emotion, so you are regulating your emotion that way. Let's take an example: stress. If I'm stressed and I want to have a chocolate cake, it's because I am regulating my emotion. I'm letting go my stress using cake. So second type of emotional cravings are when you're craving this feeling and you want to get that emotion. Usually it's associated with our memories. You know how it smells like childhood or it tastes like childhood. We often say that phrase. And if you want to feel connected or loved, maybe safe, depending on the emotion, if you're searching for specific emotion, food might be symbol of that emotion. And you eating chocolate cake might remind you of your birthday and how loved you were at that time. So it's also an emotional craving, but instead of getting rid of the emotion, you are asking for that specific feeling. And the last type of cravings are habit plus restriction. I have them together. You can use them, like you can separate them into two different type of cravings, but for me they were connected with each other because of their mechanism. So what happens with the habit type of cravings is you are using food without noticing it, because it's a habit already. By definition, habit is something you don't notice, you're doing it automatically, right? So every time you sit down to watch a TV, you eat something. It's not because you have any other mentioned cravings, but because it's already a habit. You used to do this every single time for a year. Now you do it without noticing it. And those habit-related cravings are very interesting because they always happen at the same time or in the same place or in the same scenario. Like they are always very patternized. You can see the pattern very, very clearly with them. And they are one of the easiest to notice in the sense of finding cravings. For the restriction, what it is you are craving something only because you restricted it. It's very common when you're on a diet. For example, I don't really like bread. But every time I would go on a restrictive diet when it is forbidden for me to have bread, I would always crave bread, which is wild for me because I never like bread to start with. They are forbidden food effects. I only want it because it's not allowed and I can't stop thinking about it. That's one of the big downsides of the diets. They are restricting you specific food and you keep thinking about it all the time. Now, why am I giving you all of these definitions and differences between cravings? Like, why is it important? I really want you to have this information because the awareness is changing the way you see the situation. How I used it for myself was that when I understood there were different type of cravings, I started having this experiment with myself to check like what type of cravings I'm experiencing throughout the day. What are the data I can collect, because I wanted to recover from binge eating. It was disrupting my life, my mental health, and I really wanted to go on the recovery side. I also wanted to lose weight. It was one of the big things as well. The cravings were, in a way, for both of my goals to reach. And first thing what happened was me getting more data. I saw it as an experiment, so there was no winning or failing. It was just the curiosity. The second thing was because I know the differences, I knew how to deal with them and I could respond to them better. I started noticing them sooner. And third thing was the emotional cravings became easier to handle without automatic eating. Every time you work on a specific type of craving, you are automatically working on some part of the next one, and generally the cravings become something you see differently. You don't see them as some type of torture and punishment. You see them as the signal. Your body is telling you something. I noticed for myself that habit cravings were hardest. I already mentioned that because they are by definition something that you shouldn't be able to notice. That's why they are automatic. Diet style restrictions stopped creating random obsessions because I realized that reason why diets wasn't working for me was because it was giving me specific nutritional plan without addressing the issues I had. And turns out my cravings were not always related to food. Food was just the symbol of something I needed to get. And how I want to end the video is to tell you that cravings are not one thing, so you cannot have one universal solution for it. Next time you start craving something, I would like you to label it. That's how I started the recovery process. I labeled it to notice what was the need it was fulfilling. And once you name it, you can give yourself exactly what you need. Because if you're having physical cravings and you are not giving yourself food, you are damaging your physical health because you needed that specific type of food. That's why you requested it. If you wanted emotional fulfillment, then giving food is not so much of a good idea because you keep staying in this loop without learning how to fulfill your emotional needs in a different way. That was all I had for you today. I hope it was interesting. I know it was extremely interesting for me when I first found out that there were different cravings, and searching it and finding the examples in my own life was a very exciting process. I saw it as an experiment, so it made process extremely interesting and easier also. I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye.